Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me again for another episode of Reach. Today, since we're in the summer months, I wanted to include just a couple of computer based activities because we know that, especially during the summer, sometimes it's even a bit of an issue at the end of summer. We tend to let our kids be on technology a little bit more than maybe they should be because school's going to come back and then maybe that device is not going to be as accessible to them as it had been during summer. And then it's a whole other issue. So it's something definitely that you want to be careful of and very mindful of. Make sure that you have time carved out during the day that is tech time, and sort of stay in control as a parent over their access. I know a lot of families who have their Wi-Fi on a timer. That way it goes off at a certain time. So maybe bedtime in your house is 10 o'clock, but maybe the adults in the home usually stay up till 11, and you're watching something online, which, these days, everything online, even on your TV set, right? Most of our TV sets these days are you're watching stuff that's actually online. So I understand that. So maybe for you guys go to bed at 11. And so maybe that's going to be the time that tech time is over. But anyway, determine a time, especially during the summer months, that tech time is going to be over. And if you need to, there is a way to shut off your Wi-Fi. So just be mindful of that because I know it's a huge issue. So for today, I just wanted to share a couple different computer-based activities that you might find helpful because whether we like it or we don't, so much of education in our schools, I'm not even talking about at home, but in our schools is on a computer. Certainly during COVID, it was all on a computer. And then as kids started to come back, it was a teacher in the classroom, but they were still heavily learning on the computer. Now, some people believe more strongly in that than others. There's lots of evidence actually both ways. Some kids learn better on a computer, but many children, especially children with disabilities, they really need a human to teach them. And so they may not learn a lot online. But schools are using technology, and so we want to make sure that kids know how to use and access technology, but they also know when it's done, right? Because sometimes it's, using technology, it's really actually pretty interesting. There's tons of research that for all of us, it does these things in our brains and it releases these hormones that makes us more and more. So if you happen to have an addictive personality, technology could be particularly dangerous for you. And for kids who are always looking for that next, like, how can I get stimulated? It can be a situation where your kid is on it and then they don't want to give it up. So you just need to be mindful of that. You want to keep it structured, keep it scheduled. Maybe in your house you need a timer, or you need to use some type of a clock, like an analog clock on the wall. And you need to say, okay, so when the big hand is on and the little hand is on, that's it. Then the technology is going to go off. And don't just say that. So you want the and in there. And then we're going to kind of schedule their day so that they know, okay, so we're going to do that. And then we're going to roll into maybe a fun activity. So maybe the fun activity is, going on the swings in the backyard, or taking a walk, or playing with the dog, or feeding the dog, whatever. But you'll kind of figure out what that next thing is. Now, if the next thing is sitting down and doing a writing activity, you're probably going to have a kid who fights you in giving up their technology. So try to make sure that you're taking them off of something that they love, and try to have the next activity be something that they're going to like, or else you're just you're in for it. And that's all kids. That's just a kid thing, right? And I'm sure you guys can remember when you were kids. All right, so some of the computer-based activities that I wanted to talk about. So there's a couple of them. So there's something called bedtime math. Okay, so this is a math program that's filled with math activities that for both parents and kids that they could work on together. The website uses simple graphics, photos, and text, and it's not overwhelming. It is meant to be fun. It is very sensory, so it gives lots of different types of sensory input and feedback. And it's something that you can kind of do to sort of wind down your day. That's why it's called bedtime math. So you might want to check that out, especially for those kids who, have a challenge with math activities or understanding mathematical concepts. I've met many kids with autism, including my own son, who not only has some of the challenges related to autism, but have dyscalculia, which is a math learning disability. And it's so very difficult just to understand the basics of mathematical concepts. Yes, there are many people on the spectrum who are incredible mathematicians, well beyond anything that I can even begin to wrap my brain around. But that doesn't mean that there are not other people with autism who really struggle in that area. And for you guys who are parents of young kids, math is not something that you want to wait and think, oh, it's going to get better. Because we see all the time high school students with autism who are doing okay in their science and their social studies and maybe even their English class. But math is just so difficult. And a lot of that is because math builds on itself. So if you miss the foundations at first, second, third grade, and you think, well, we're just going to catch up later, we're going to work on that when we get into middle or high school, that's probably not going to happen. And then you're going to have a kid who you're going to have to figure out, are they going to be able to graduate? Because they're not going to be able to meet the math requirements of graduation. So math is not something to hang out and wait on getting better without support. And talk to your special educators at your school, because there are some really cool math programs like Touch Math, and we'll do another episode on Touch Math because it's pretty cool. All right, so then Fun Brain. So children who feel overwhelmed by video and sound can still enjoy reading digital books using this website's reading section, which offers text and sensory-friendly illustrations, right? My son used to love books on tape. So I guess they're not really on tape anymore. And so much to the degree that he created his own, he has a podcast. So if you're interested, it's Page Turner Adventures with Zach. And he reads children's books and he puts in all kinds of sounds and just really cool. So I just give that to you as an example. You can check it out. But that might be really neat because it's not just somebody reading it, but it's the sounds, and it's definitely a sensory experience. Khan Academy. Khan Academy has been, for probably the last, 10, maybe even 20 years, really at the forefront of online education. And it was renowned for the video-based learning for kids of all ages and even adults. It has a giant library content, so there's tons of stuff. It ranges from color and music-filled videos to basic demonstration with narration. And so there's tons of options for basically every kind of human. So you check out Khan Academy. So that's Khan Academy. A lot of teachers will also recommend it. It's pretty cool. Scholastic Learning at Home. So I don't know if you guys remember, like if you're my age, or younger, when you were in school and they would have the Scholastic book fairs, right? That's usually the company that brings all the books to your schools for the book fairs. So Scholastic has been at this for a very long time, and they provide all kinds of stuff. So this is a Learn at Home. And so they have all types of activities online from pre-K, so all the way through to ninth grade in a variety of different formats. Basically, you name the subject and they're going to have material on there that's going to entice and interest, and really you could get caught in a rabbit hole with chasing down one topic after another on Scholastic Learn at Home. The Smithsonian Learning Lab. So this is where kids can learn a variety of subjects and choose from all kinds of lessons. They include videos and images and plain text and all kinds of things. This is one of those really great things for, those really brainiac people, within our community who really love deep dives in subjects. Starfall. A lot of schools use Starfall, so your kids may already be familiar with Starfall and what it's like, and kind of the setup and how to use it. So it's filled with interactive games and activities, again, from pre-K, kindergarten, third grade, that is going to be visually intense for kids. So I have found that most kids like it, but certainly if you have a child who is just like too overstimulated by something on a computer that's got a lot of sort of bells and whistles, maybe that's not the program for them. And if that is your kid, you want to ask your school if they're using it, because if they are, it may not be a good thing. So you definitely want to be aware of what they're using with your kids in school. Don't make the assumption that the curriculum that they're using for everyone is the curriculum that's going to be the one for your child. So there are talking books in there that, like the read alouds, where they can kind of follow along. They can follow along with the words as they hear the story. So that's pretty cool. And the last one I'm going to talk about is Storyline Online. And it's a website that features videos of hundreds of actors reading children's books, pre-K, elementary age kids. So that's pretty cool. So if you've got an aficionado in your house of movies and different actors and I don't know, these people that are like celebrity kind of people, you could check that out. They have images from the book that plays along with the slideshow and the background. And if it's too overstimulating, they could still listen. So you could just like shut the screen off and you could just listen. Okay. All right. So I think that that's like it for today, but I hope that you check out some of those, because I just think that there's a lot of value in helping us kind of acclimate our kids to online learning, because again, they are getting that in school. But at the same time, if they're getting too much education in school that is spent online, you need to advocate and talk to the school about how is your child learning. How are they being expected to learn? And if the answer is, they're on the computer and that's how they get their reading instruction, you want to talk to them about, who is the teacher who's providing the special education to help my child learn to read? And sometimes there is a good response and sometimes there's not. And that is the point of advocacy. So you want to make sure their kids have what they need. And, there's plenty of us out there, adults, who download books on Audible and all other types of devices. And so, reading could be with our eyes, but reading could also be with our ears and listening to the story and listening to the author who's trying to teach us something. So there's so much value in literacy. And I hope that you spend a little bit of time this summer accessing some programs like these online and helping your kids kind of get that foot up on the upcoming school year. Okay? Alrighty, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I will see you next time.